What's up, everybody? I'm Stephanie.
I'm Stacy.
And this is another episode of Sisters Unfiltered. Today's topic is going to be on insecurities.
Yeah.
My insecurities.
Our insecurities.
Everyone has insecurities. Yeah. So let's get into what insecurity actually means, the definition of it. So insecurity is defined as not confident or sure, uncertain, not adequately guarded or sustained, not firmly fastened or fixed.
Yeah.
So me personally, I feel like insecurity is bondage. I feel like, and when I say bondage, I mean that it's a thought or action that essentially limits what it is that we do and how we show up in the world because of what we already think about ourselves before we go into spaces.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful because I've never thought about it in that way before, as it being bondage, being held captive. That's essentially what bondage is, being held captive by an insecurity. But if we think about dealing with the thing, we have to find out the root of the thing. So, how do you think our insecurities developed? Like, for me, one of the ways I think I have developed one of few of my insecurities would be from people projecting themselves or the way they think or even societal pressures pressuring me, and then I've developed an insecurity for something. There are cases where from a very young age, and then there are cases where as an adult I've gone into spaces with my not having an insecurity in this particular area, and then leaving that space and now having an insecurity in the area, and I'm struggling now to have to get rid of that insecurity. So what about you?
I feel like for me, and I don't know if other people can agree, a lot of times it starts at home because that's where you get the bulk of your identity and who you are. Everything starts at home, right? And then I feel like once you go out and when you go to school, for me it was like middle school, high school-ish, where a lot of my insecurities develop because you care more about your social groups as you get older. And I cared about how I looked and who was attracted to me, what my friends were doing, who was attracted to them, the conversations that was being had, who was prettier, who looked this way, things of the sort. So I feel like essentially looking back now as an adult, I feel like those were all tricks of the enemy. Because the enemy's goal is to attack you in your identity and make you feel inadequate. And eventually that does build that lack of confidence, the low self-esteem that comes with that, and just you constantly self-critiquing yourself. It's kind of like you put yourself in an imprisonment.
Yeah. It's so true. For me, when it comes to insecurity, at home, I can't say that I developed an insecurity, but when I began to go to school, one of the areas that I struggled with was my complexion. And growing up in the Caribbean, people always find something. No matter, you could be the prettiest ever to general consensus that this is a beautiful individual, and they're still gonna find something. Your ears big, your teeth big, something they're gonna think. But for me, it was my complexion for a while. I remember coming home once, and I was asking my mother, like, why? I wish I was the color of sugar, at least. I didn't have to be brown sugar. Brown sugar, not knowing that we at that time, you had the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, but I like my juice in sweet enough because nobody else is seemed to, and as I got older in a as like older pre-adult, young adult I should say, and I started to get attention from the opposite sex and stuff like that, and then I realized that my complexion wasn't so much of an issue, and I still battled with it. Now I don't care. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the body God gave me. This is the color God gave me. It's not limiting me from doing what I need to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but I remember those days, struggling with it, and you know, wasting time, wishing to be something else that not necessarily better than I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, because we are all created in God's image, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm no worse or better than anybody else because of the color of my skin, right? So I don't know for you how that looked.
So for me in school, one of my insecurities was my weight, and it was my weight because of the people I was around.
Mm-hmm.
I was more than likely in any space the tallest or the biggest girl in size in anything.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to color, I paid attention to that more again, like as I got older and I was in the academic space. A lot of things that I chose to do, whether clubs I joined or what academic,
Mm-hmm.
after school programs or things like that I joined, I was either the only black girl, I was the biggest
Mm-hmm.
black girl,
Mm-hmm.
tall girl. It was always a thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Always a thing.
yeah, so I'm like, at some point, when I was in school, I felt like those were the reasons why certain guys weren't looking my way, but looking my friend's way and things like that. But as I got older, I realized everything is perspective, and I feel like when it comes to insecurity, people can smell that, especially when you're not secure in yourself. When you get into spaces, people can tell, and it's something that you've become so used to the negative affirmations you give yourself that when you step into spaces, people pick up on it and they already know. Yeah, she got low self esteem. Yeah, she not loving herself too much. So
Yeah. So when it comes to for you for the insecurity, would it be a case where I mean, can I get unfiltered for a second?
yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to validation,
Mm-hmm.
do you think you were validated, or do you think that if there was a lack of validation, that made it easier for you to be insecure or to, you know, have an insecurity, develop an insecurity?
So I'm gonna have to say no. I didn't feel validated.
Mm-hmm.
You get, and I feel like, and if there was validation, I'll say that I didn't accept it. I wasn't in a space to be able to accept it because I had already been in school and been called all types of big in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So hearing that and looking in the mirror and saying, yeah, that what they're saying is true, because and just having that in my head with family. I'm from a West Indian household, so nobody prevents themselves from telling you how big you got, and especially when you see people over the holidays. And that's something we need to unpack in another episode. Because you don't need to start by greeting me by saying, "Oh my gosh,
you get big, girl.
You get
big.
big.
When you eating up all the food.
How about hello? How you doing? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. How's work? How's school? Not the right on my way. I just get in the door. I ain't even take my. Come on. So for me, I think that's the commentary, and if I put on something that may not be flattering, it's all. Just let me tell you, coming from a West Indian household, it's unfiltered. We gonna be unfiltered on Sisters Unfiltered, but coming from a West Indian household, you already get a taste of unfiltered. But yeah, I feel like the feeling like I wasn't being validated, it started then for sure. And then it progressed. As you get older, that stays with you and you carry that. And then it also, I feel like insecurity and the lack of validation, it affects the choices you make. It affects the people that you choose. It affects what you accept in relationships. And y'all gonna hear me talk about relationships a lot because I feel like that's very important. And we build a lot of who we are off of our relationships and people we're close to. And you find yourself in situations with people who truly don't appreciate you for who you are because you don't appreciate you for who you are, right? So you haven't set the standard. So they're creating their own when they come in your life because they see because you are insecure, because you feel have the self esteem issues you may have, that you also don't have a voice to speak up for yourself and create those boundaries. So I feel like insecurity is literally like a domino effect, and it knocks down other things in the process.
It is so true. I guess for me, when it comes to decisions, I remembered my first relationship as a young girl, dealing with the insecurity of why I'm so dark, why I'm so black. I was called all type of black animals.
Come on.
And ridiculous. I remember my first attention, right, was from this guy that was of a lighter complexion. And I felt like, oh my God, like, flabbergasted. I was in awe of the fact that he like little somebody old black bird me. Like, yeah. And then what I did then was allowed myself to take whatever he was giving. Not necessarily he wasn't a bad person. It wasn't that he was abusing me or anything like that. But it's just that I had no self worth, and whatever I would say, no, I didn't have any. I think I allowed a lot more. You were
more flexible.
Correct, because of his, like, he gave me attention. He wanted to be with me. Right? So now, not putting any value in myself, I'm giving him the keys, to the being.
Almost like idolizing.
So then, that doesn't affect me anymore. I don't look at it like that. But then, looking at my younger self, and people ask if you could go back to your younger self, what would you say? I was born with worth. I was bought with a price. And my skin color in no way defines who I am, what I have to offer, what I bring, and what I am capable of. It does not. And it's a place I had to come to, and it's a place that I am constantly. It's like a muscle. You can't say, okay, get over this insecurity, and then okay, I later I'm alright. No, it's something that you have to constantly reassure yourself, making sure, because it's a spirit. If you don't check insecurities, it is a spirit that can hold on to you in inadequacy, inferiority complex, all types of you not being enough. Confidence. And it's like a cancer. And if you don't nip that thing in the bud, that is going to eat away at the very fiber of your being, that you don't even know what you are, who you are, what you're capable of. You just merely existing. It's a spirit you have to bind. It's a spirit you first have to acknowledge, right? Because you might think you have an insecurity in this one area, and this goes unchecked. Then it starts to filter in other areas. It deals with your self-confidence. It messes with your self-esteem. All of these type of things.
It messes with how you operate in the world on the day-to-day. And to be quite honest with you, there's moments where God is ministering to you. He's speaking to you, and He's telling you what He wants you to do next in your season, wherever you are in your particular season, because no one's in the same season at the same time, right? But when God has that moment of speaking with you, you won't even hear Him clearly, because your insecurities are way too loud.
Yeah.
They're too loud.
They're definitely loud. That's all you seem to hear. And it goes back to where we were talking about having, when somebody pays you a compliment, right?
You can't just say thank you.
No. No. You have to deflect. You have to, it's so funny because now we're talking about it. I am guilty of, somebody giving me a compliment. You sure? You sure this thing? You sure this thing look good? Because I didn't try on before, or somebody give you a genuine compliment. Somebody speaks into your life and you can't even accept it. You're not in the space to be able to accept what is being downloaded to you, right? And that's when we talk about validation. and receiving validation. Sometimes you're not in that space, as you said, to accept the validation, right? Because you so messed up, so it's a
Cause you're
thing, it's a very powerful thing, and we have to make sure that we check the insecurity, the spirit of insecurity over our lives.
and I also feel like when you're hurt, because all of these things create hurt, all of these things create anger, and I feel like you can't hear through ears that's hurt. You can't. It's very hard to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. So the enemy comes to steal, to kill, to destroy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a scheme of the enemy to see how he works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that he doesn't have to send people, right? He doesn't have to send. It's like a thought. We talk about a thought. You can't help yourself from getting a thought, but you can help yourself from festering on that thought, for
Mm-hmm.
keep on going, replaying that thought in your head over and over and over,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how he's able to attempt to thwart your destiny or your purpose, because he drops a thought. You keep recycling this thought in your head, then you start to believe the thought, so he comes to steal,
Mm-hmm.
to kill.
And you're already in doubt, so it's easy to take. It's easy to take when your door's already unlocked. So
Wow,
like,
that's a powerful. Your door unlocked. Guard your door. Guard your door. Guard your access points. Guard it. And in guarding it, we're looking at, we gotta come back to what is prevalent in our time, social media.
mm-hmm.
Right? Social media is such a powerful thing when it comes to insecurities, because I remember um the late brother Samuels,
Mm-hmm.
who no, I'm not, you know, I am not judging him for his principles or
Mm-hmm.
his ideas. They're
Mm-hmm.
they are socially constructed.
Mm-hmm.
So his concept of the fact that a woman had to be all of these things in order to get attention or interest of another socially
In order to be
constructed,
married.
man of value or a high value man, I think that has also placed a lot of insecurities in women who are now trying to make themselves a particular way to attract a particular type of man. And if you're watching, when I watched one or few of the episodes, and the questions were, do you have a child? Were you married? How old you are? How tall you are? You're this and that, and whatever. And it was like just dissecting you like a frog,
Mm-hmm.
and then you missing whatever they decide was, image, or of a good image. Like it played. I am not saying it affected me, but if you see the decisions that women are making today,
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell, oh, I have all this self confidence. No.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it. I'm not doing it for people, I'm doing it for myself. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
convince yourself of that. If you want to do some type of cosmetic surgery that you believe is going to enhance you or whatever, for whatever reason, that's on you. But for you to put it out there that you're doing it for yourself, or you're not doing it because you're feeling pressured by
Mm-hmm.
society to conform. What the Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It up here.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's being evident in another body part, it's up here.
Right.
That's where that is. Up here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you feel about it.
So for me, I feel like it goes back to the person, right? Essentially, it's what you allow, right? And having that awareness of yourself. So for me, and just how how your self esteem is looking. Because I have a story. When I was in college, there was this guy I was really interested in. He was popular. He was known in like all the clubs and things like that. He was very popular, and he was interested in me. And when I looked at him and I looked at the people he hung out with, none of the guys he hung out with, their girlfriends looked like me.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said he liked me, I thought immediately, this is a joke, and you're not about to get me. So when we continued to talk, I'm like, yeah, he seems like he's really interested in me. But it was just something about seeing who he associated himself with, because I'm a firm believer in show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So when I seen who he associated with, I'm like, I can't picture myself hanging with those girls that his friends had, because he's always with them. So I know I would be in that circle too. And because of my insecurities and not believing that I was even deserving of a guy to that level and that magnitude at the time, or whatever magnitude and level that I put him on in my mind, right? I totally dismissed the idea. Couple months, years down, I see him on social media and he's getting engaged. And I look at his wife. My insecurity was my weight. When I looked at his wife, she was bigger than me. So then that was a moment for me. What was it about me at that time that I felt I wasn't deserving of? And why did I treat myself like that? So that's definitely something to reflect on. So when you speak about Kevin Samuels, I understand that because he mentioned certain points, and it's like if you check those boxes automatically, your stock drops. When it comes to the type of person that's out there for you to date. And it kind of makes women who already feel insecure that they don't stand a chance.
Well, it's true. It affects you mentally in a serious way. So having spoken about the insecurity, and I feel like one of the things, if you are a believer or if you believe in the power of the tongue and you actively want to not deal with or having these insecurities, you have to understand that you cannot claim this. Saying my insecurity is like saying my cancer, right? Or you have to be careful with what you're saying and proclaiming, because the Bible talks about the power of the tongue. It's life and death, right? And it's not, you're not lying, you just prophesying. You prophesying and declaring that you're not going to deal with it. You're not going to have this insecurity anymore. Now when we talk about insecurity, okay, we're not saying, okay, if you know you overweight, as in exhibit A.
Exhibit B, no?
I ain't decreeing and declaring I a slim chick. I a slim chick. I a slim chick.
What do we say? Slim thick.
You understand?
Ain't nothing slim thick about me.
No, it's not. We're not trying to. I'm not saying, okay, that you are being delusional. Okay, if you, why you laughing? You understand? It's, you're not allowing this thing to magnify itself so much in your head. It makes you think that you are less than what you are. Okay, so it's not delusion here. It is saying that you're limited. It's like Moses, right? Moses had this speech impediment. God has said, no, you don't have this speech impediment. God said, use you despite. Right? You're going to fulfill, you're going to liberate my people despite of. Right? So I have to make that a little clear, because I ain't sitting down and declaring the sun will turn purple. No, that's delusion. The sun is what it is. It is going to do what it's going to do. So in dealing with, you have to be resolute. I had to be resolute in saying, okay, I may not be comfortable with what I think, but I'm not going to allow it to limit me. And even if we talk about from when we wanted to do this podcast until now, knowing who I was before, I'm in awe of the fact where God brought me, because if I had allowed my insecurity to be a resounding sound in my head, we would have been in conception. We've been conceiving forever.
This would have been episode.
Amazon Prime, where? No, because I said with God, right? I allowed God, His voice, to overshadow and to overcome and to speak louder. His voice is the word, right? I read the word and I accept the word and I proclaim the word and I continue to profess the word over myself. And it's a journey. I'm not saying that whatever insecurity you have, by 7 days of, affirmations, it's going to over. You have to be resilient. So for you, how do you think you can overcome insecurities?
Mm. Overcoming insecurities by remembering who I belong to and who I am. I am the I am. I'm the child
Of the I am.
I am. So the righteous have not been forsaken.
Now I see. They don't beg. They don't beg. And that's really powerful. I am a child of the I am. And the righteous never beg. Wow. Do you think, I know we kind of like jump ahead and we're talking about how to, how I feel like I'm overcoming, because it's still things that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it's still a process.
Yeah, yeah. But when it comes to insecurities, do you think that insecurities is something, or having an insecurity is something that we're always going to have? Like, are we always going to be dealing with insecurities all the days of our lives?
I feel like it's always going to exist, but it's how loud you let it talk to you. It's how much acknowledgement or light you shine on it. Because and it also depends. If it's something that you want to change and it bothers you that much where you can't sleep, you have sleepless nights because of this insecurity, and it's something that could be changed, then, everyone has free will. But if it's something that you don't want to change because it's a part of you, you embrace what that is. And I feel like the only reason why we have insecurities is because there's societal standards that, quite frankly, a lot of us don't meet on the day to day. Even the people that set the societal standards don't even meet their own societal standards when the cameras is off, right? So, like, embrace who you are. Embrace what God created you to be. You're beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what the enemy wants to do, because he even did it with Jesus. He questioned Jesus. He told Jesus, if you are the Son of God. So that immediately made Jesus question, wait, hold up, am I? Jesus had to take a step back and say, wait, hold up, I know who I am.
Wow. And
I'll say it again. I am the child.
Of the I am.
Of the I am.
Wow. This is some good stuff. This is some powerful stuff. So when we end the podcast, or we're coming to the end of the podcast, it's with the intention that what we have discussed has touched you in such a powerful or magnificent way that it causes you to have some inner time, inner reflection, because I do not ever want to go back to that place where I'm a walking billboard for the company called Insecurity. Because it steals time, it steals joy. How many times have you been in a position where you know you were more than capable, but something prevented you from going forward, from doing? And and we had this conversation in terms of, I love to sing and I've been singing in church, but I had hated to hear my voice, and I felt others also, and that has prevented me from moving forward, doing things for God with my voice, because I felt like others were better at it than I was. And now at this age, I don't know what I would have done, or where I would have been, or how far I would have gone if I had decided to be confident in the giftings that God gave me, right? Because He said in His Word, even before the formation of the world, He knew me. Even before He placed me in my mother's womb, He knew me. So it was no accident, no mishap, no happenstance, no coincidence that we are all gifted the way we are. And if we could go back to the enemy now talking into our heads and we allowing him to speak and fester and to grow like a cancer, where would we be? Now, God knows our beginning and our end, and nothing takes him by surprise, right? So I'm not here. Correct, but where we are now is not by accident, right? It's not by accident. But allowing your insecurities to continue, especially we coming down to the end of the year, to continue the same old tape over the same VCR cassette, to keep playing. We going into 2024. What are you going to do to chip away, to break away from your insecurities? Like, what if you no longer want to be bondage by the insecurity that plagued you for so many years, 9 years, 10 years, all your life? There has to be a better way. There is a better way. And the way is through Jesus. But you have to believe what Jesus is saying. You've been believing what the enemy has been saying for such a long time. Let's try Jesus. Try a different way this time. What you've been doing and working, it never worked. It never worked.
Doing it in my power doesn't work. Doesn't work at all.
So it gotta be a different way, a better way.
And I feel like one of the ways to do that is keep moving. Do that thing, whatever that thing is. If you're listening to us right now, whatever that thing is that is scaring you, whatever that thing is that's making you feel like you can't do it, still push through. Push through.
Yeah. Do it anyway.
Do it anyway. Do it scared.
Afraid. Something you might think you're not even qualified. Because God qualifies who he calls, right? And especially when it comes to academics. So you've been talking about academics. So sometimes we think, oh my God, I don't have a degree. I don't have a degree.
Let me tell you, I talk about academics, but I got a story for y'all for the next podcast. When I tell you I thought academics mattered, y'all, God showed me who was in charge.
Yeah. It's So we thank you so much for joining us today on episode 3 of season 1 of Sisters on Filter. Many more. If you enjoyed this content, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, tell a friend to tell their friends that Stacy and Stephanie has a new podcast. It's called Sisters Unfiltered. Girl, you're crazy. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.